Rick, how are you?
I'm doing well, Keith. How are
Good,
you?
man. I like the blue shirt.
Well, I was just going to say the same thing about you.
Thank you, thank you.
We both have the white buttons, too.
Yes, we do.
This was a suggestion by the audience. They were saying that we weren't wearing enough outfits with white buttons.
Okay,
Here we are.
We're here for our audience.
That's right.
We're here for our audience. Their opinion matters.
That's true.
Right?
And all of the people who are here today who are watching us that have brought all of this beautiful food for us to eat and to share, we want to thank them as well.
Yeah, thank you.
And also the camera operator and the folks who did the lighting. Thanks very much.
You mean me?
You know,
You're welcome.
we're in a totally empty studio. It's just Keith and I and this little machine that's bringing this magic to you right now. So
That's right. That's right. So today's topic will be information overload and how to trust the information.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
what information to trust.
I think that's a really great topic because, you know, look at the internet. It's like 24/7 plus, you know, it's you're always getting bombarded with facts. And then you have newspapers, if people still read newspapers. And then you have your own career industrial publications that you're responsible for, and more emails from work. I mean, it's just constant, day after day after day, getting hit with information.
Mm-hmm.
And then television, don't forget TV and current events and all of that. So with all of that steady stream of electronic information, doesn't it tend to get to be a little overwhelming and also kind of inciting anger and sometimes frustration if you disagree with things? So this whole area is an area that's not talked about much, and I think we ought to explore it a bit.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
Jump in.
so let's talk about, first of all, I think one of the things that we need to be mindful of is that most of the things that we see and hear about are someone's opinion as opposed to fact.
Right.
And even when it's not an outright opinion, there's an editorial selection about what things are actually sent to you over the airwaves. So there's somebody who's deciding that this is important to them and they're sending it to you. As a receiver, you have the option to say, I'm not interested. The hard part is that as humans, we're always thinking that there's something that we need to know that we don't know, and that if we stay off of our electronic leashes, we won't find those key things out to happiness. And I think it's just the opposite. The more you turn that stuff off, and the more you go inside and meditate and not be influenced by externals, the better we are.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is a difference between being informed and conscious and being over-informed and disillusioned. I mean, I think there is a difference between those two, and often I think in our society it's the latter. And one of the ways that I can tell for myself if I'm being over-informed or being influenced by someone's opinion that they're passing off as fact, even if they started off by citing facts, after a while the fact is over one or two sentences, and then it's really like a little, dialogue that they're just kind of launching into to really get their point across, is how do I feel after I read it?
Oh, that's a great test.
Do I still feel like there's hope for humankind? Am I optimistic? Do I have faith in my fellow man and woman? Do I feel like I want to be loving and kind to everyone? If I walk away feeling like that, then I kind of like what I read. If I don't, and I'm hostile or angry, and I'm picking sides, so if I'm on this side, which makes me superior, you're on that side, which makes you wrong and inferior, if I feel more separation than togetherness and connection, then I've had too much of it, because that's what I want to be rooted in. I want to be rooted in gratitude, peace, loving, and kindness. And there's a ton of information that I can read that makes me more hopeful and optimistic and leaning into those kinds of feelings than the latter. And so that's what I use to help me discern whether or not I'm inundated with too much information.
That's a great system. I agree. There's a strong need that we have, I think, to be more fussy, to be more discriminating about what things we let in, because it all has an effect. Things that come in don't go out so easily.
No, they
Once you
don't.
hear them, it's like seeing a terrible accident and having that in your head relived over and over again so that it's continually real. For the last year, I've tried something that's totally different than what I used to do. I used to be an avid reader, everything I could get my hands on. I no longer read the newspaper. I no longer get news every day. I spend one probably afternoon on Sunday going through the Sunday paper. And I like the Sunday paper because it gives a combination of the news recap for the week, but it also has a lot of features about things that people are doing positively. There's an arts section that talks about people who are creating. There's a travel section about cool places to go and interesting experiences. So you not only get a hit of the news, which can be depressing and informative, but you're up to date on the issues, and then also you have all of this other amelioratory kind of material, these things that break down or that lessen the impact of some of the harshness. So no news for me all week except for a little bit on Sunday.
Well, interesting. So only a little bit of news on Sunday, no news the rest of the week.
Right.
Do you feel less informed?
No, not at all. Most of it is garbage because it's always a moving target. Something happens on Monday that really is interesting, but it's not the whole story. You get a little more on Tuesday, and Wednesday maybe some more, then they skip Thursday, something Friday. So by the time the whole week passes, that issue that came out Monday still isn't resolved, but by Sunday it's a little more resolved and you'll read about it for the first time there. Look, if there's a hurricane that's coming to your house, like you'll know about it. You don't need to be on the internet all day long trying to figure out what's coming.
With the weather pattern is.
That's right. You're gonna know. You're gonna know.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so, have you found that? What was your emotional state like when you were reading the news every single day and you were ravenous about getting as much information as you can? What was that like before? And what is it like now that you only get a small dose of that once a week?
Well, I have got to plug in two other pieces of information for you before I can answer that.
Okay, perfect.
Along with me deciding not to do any more news for the week except for a little bit on Sunday when I read the Sunday paper to cover, apart from that, I also gave up my smartphone. I went back to a flip phone. Because I didn't have the discipline to continue to stop that inflow of information. I was constantly checking, I was constantly multitasking, and if I found that I couldn't focus very well on something that I was interested in because I was always distracted. Or I'd focus for a little while, and then I'd be getting nervous because I hadn't checked my smartphone. It's goofy, it's just goofy, so I just got rid of it. So that's the first piece of information. I got rid of the smartphone. Second thing, I quit Twitter and I quit Facebook. And so I'm probably the only guy that has a flip phone. No Facebook, no Twitter, it doesn't read the news. And I think I'm much healthier for it.
Well, Tim and I are three of the four.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You're
Exactly.
not on Facebook either, right?
No Facebook,
Cool.
no Twitter,
Yeah,
and
cool.
we don't read the news.
That's very cool. And for those of you who might be interested in trying to start out doing this, you just stick a toe in this water and see if it's for you. It is for you, by the way. But try this. At night, instead of listening to the news, do not watch television. If you're going to watch TV. I don't even have a TV. That's the other part of it. So if you still watch television, click the TV off before the news comes on and put on some soothing music if you need to have some sort of stimulation to bring you down before you can go to sleep. Or try meditating before you go to sleep. And skip the dang news so you don't take the news to bed with you.
That's right.
Horrible.
I've come to visit and you don't have a television. So you know what we did? I don't know if you heard of this thing, but we had conversation. We actually had conversation. There's this thing. I don't know if you heard of it before.
I was very scared. I was nervous.
You were skeptical about it, right? When I suggested it?
And we had eye contact.
Yeah, we had eye contact. We talked the whole time.
Magic.
Great deep conversations. But yeah, you're exactly right. You have a problem. At least in my case, I knew I had a problem when I would have to get up really early the next morning to go work out or go meet with someone. I had another commitment. And I knew that I wanted to be at my best that next day. And sleep is one of the key ingredients to being your best. And I would be on my phone or watching television, cutting into my sleep time. If you know you have a big day the next day, or you have a task in front of you that is important to bring your best to it, and you're still allowing the distraction of a smartphone or the news or whatever to compromise you doing what you need to do to bring your best to it, there's a problem there.
Tell us why you got rid of Twitter and Facebook. Now, you're in a very different kind of environment here. You have a lot of people that you need to monitor who are counting on you for your input. How did you get rid of Twitter and Facebook and still manage to be effective?
Well, what I found was it was taking a lot of my time. For our business, everyone was telling us you got to be on social media, you got to have Twitter, you got to have Instagram, you got to have. And what I found is that the return on the investment, my time, it wasn't coming back like they said it would come back. And we talked to people that were, social media gurus and specialists and everything else, and it just wasn't worth the bang for the buck. And so that was part of it. And we do have a private Facebook page for our members and a public Facebook page, but I don't manage it at all, at all. Like I may write, someone says, hey Keith, here's a photo that we took today, can you write the caption for it? I'll spend 10 seconds writing a caption, and that happens maybe twice a month. And I don't even see the caption. I am not part of it. The other part of it is when I was active in, helping market us, our company through those social mediums, when I was doing that, I found myself not just doing that and getting off. I found myself just as the creators of these platforms and these engineers and these software engineers had planned and hoped for, I was drawn in. And I was like this the whole time to the next thing. Now I'm only there for one specific thing, to post this, get in, get out. I was getting in, but I was not getting out. And it just starts sapping and sucking up my time.
Yeah, it does that.
And I just found myself going down this rabbit hole, and it was not worth it, man. I was totally checked out with the present moment. And so for me,
that's a great point. That's a great point.
You can't be. I'm on the screen and technology to rule my life. I'm not using. It got to the point to where I was no longer using it. It was using me. So 5% of the time I was using it. The other 95% of the time it was using me. And that I just didn't see the return on investment for me. So that's why I gave it up, and I am completely off. I am dark.
Yeah, I am too. And I found that I have much more peace and much more control of my life, and I'm doing things on purpose, things that I intend, things that I want to do. I'm still plenty busy, but I'm not wasting it on fluff. I think one of the things you point out that's quite important is the idea that this is kind of a manipulation on the part of the people who have created the technology,
right,
to get you to look at the ads or to do whatever they do. Use your personal information for whatever purpose they like. So you're being exploited. You're being ripped off when you participate in these things. And the appeal is, again, as I said earlier, it's part of human nature to want to communicate and want to be part of a group and so forth, and that satisfies that. But I think it's also the notion that maybe in our culture we're so big and there's so much going on that we feel that our little voice can't be heard. And so this is an opportunity for us to tell the world what we believe and in no uncertain terms in capital letters. So it appeals to that side of us that needs to communicate, and we don't have a voice for it. But you can find a proper outlet by journaling, by having smaller groups of people that you respect who are with you, like we had up in Sedona when you come to my place without a TV, and we visit, put a fire on, eat good food, discuss things, and then we're out in nature exercising.
Absolutely.
That's really where
that's so much. It's so meaningful.
That's where life is. That's where
Absolutely.
It should. The rest of it is, frankly, a dead end.
Yeah. So before we wrap up the show, talk about how you discern what information to trust and believe.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I think even if you're off of social media, no TV, no daily news, no Twitter, no Facebook, okay? You still have a lot of stuff coming at you through your work maybe, or things that you have to read for your own benefit, for career advancement. And there's always the opportunity to be misled. And so what I do is I apply basically 3 ideas. Number 1 is, what is the source of the information that's coming to me? Number 1, the source. Who is the person that's talking? does this person have credibility? Does this person have credentials? Is this person someone who's experienced or trained to talk about the things he or she is discussing? So the source of the information is first in my mind about whether I'm going to believe it. The second thing is, okay, suppose the person is qualified, they're trained, they're experienced. What is the evidence? What is the proof that they have for what they're saying? Is there something that's empirically shown, or is it something that's taken on faith? Or is there an assumption behind what this person is indicating to us? And then I think lastly, and this is probably the hardest of the three, ask questions. Well, obviously you don't have the person across from you if you're dealing with something that's coming to you from the newspaper or from electronic sources. But you can ask questions to yourself and ask questions that come up. How do you know that? From what source is that? How do you compare this with what I believe to be true, which is that? And you ask questions of yourself, and so you sort of have an idea about whether it's ultimately reliable. So that's what I would say. Look at the source, look at the the evidence, and then decide what questions are appropriate. For me, that works.
Well, that's what I do. So
Cool.
Thank you, Rick. Hey, I love you, man.
I love you.
Great shot.
Hey, thanks, man.
Great.